The modern American experience is becoming harder to navigate, and not in a physical sense, not cities or infrastructure, but the structure of life itself, expectations, access to opportunities, and the systems that quietly shape outcomes. There's a wildly held belief in equality and upward mobility. At the same time, there are consistent patterns suggesting that outcomes are heavily influenced by factors that aren't always openly discussed: social positioning, timing, access, and network effects. What emerges is something resembling an informal class structure, not officially defined, but functionally present. This isn't necessarily a contradiction, it's a tension between ideals and material reality. As Michael Parenti often pointed out, systems don't need to openly declare inequality to produce it. They simply need to reward certain behaviors, backgrounds, and positions consistently enough that the outcome begin to organize themselves. One way to observe this more clearly is by stepping outside of the usual feedback loops. After removing most forms of digital media, constant feeds, algorithmic reinforcement, perception shifts slightly. What once felt normal starts to feel constructed, not artificially in a conspiratorial way, but in the sense that it is continuously reinforced. Within that context, competition becomes one of the most visible organizing principles. And it's not limited to our peer groups. Increasingly, it operates across generations. In many professional environments, younger individuals aren't just competing with each other, they're entering spaces already occupied by people with significantly more time, experience, and established positioning. This isn't new, but it's visible and intensity feels amplified as of recently. The implication is straightforward. Even if someone follows every prescribed step correctly, the playing field is not experienced equally. That dynamic has downstream effects. It reshapes how success is understood, how early performance pressure begins, and how individuals orient themselves towards long term stability. It also introduces subtle shifts in family structure, where families once functioned more linearly, guidance flowing from one generation to the next. There is now more overlap. Multiple generations often pursue similar economic outcomes within the same systems at the same time. The boundary between mentorship and competition becomes less defined. At a broader level, cultural emphasis on optimization, efficiency, productivity, measurable output tends to crowd out less quantifiable values like community or collective responsibility, not because those values disappear, but because they are less consistently rewarded. Another pattern that emerges is segmentation. Those who are relatively secure financially or socially tend to exist within environments that shield them from systematic instability. And as a result, their field of attention narrows, not necessarily out of apathy, but because the system is functioning adequately from their vantage point. Meanwhile, those operating outside of that security encounter more friction, leading to a different, often less optimistic interpretation of the same system. As Parenti's framework would suggest, this isn't accidental. Systems tend to reproduce the conditions that sustain them, and individuals within those systems often end up reinforcing those patterns simply by participating in them. None of this is absolute. These are tendencies, not rules, but they are consistent enough to be observable. The point isn't to reject the system or fully accept it, it's to understand it more precisely, because once its patterns are visible, it becomes possible to navigate them with awareness rather than assumption.